Hello, everyone. I hope everybody had a great weekend and you're refreshed and ready to have a great week. Now, I want to remind everyone, I'm sure you received the email, that Wednesday is Take a Breath Wednesday. We will not be having classes at all or giving you any work. That does not mean that I'm going to be doubling up on the workload or giving you any extra work. We are still on schedule to finish what we need to finish for the school year, so that's good. Now, we're getting ready to go into an author that, again, during the naturalism and the realistic time period, there was a lot of darkness that went on there. We're getting ready to talk about Edwin Arlington Robinson. Now, before we even get into him and into his work, I do want to talk about one of his topics of one of his poems. It does deal with suicide. And the thing that always impressed me with Edwin Robinson was that he always, during that time period, a lot of the authors felt that the world was just dark. There was no hope. Everything was despair. And that was history as well. However, Robinson believed there was light somewhere down the tunnel. He just didn't know how to get to it. So I think it's important that we talk about that up front, because as we go into it and we start to study the poem that he has written, I want us to be prepared for that. So, enough said for that for right at this time being. But Robinson began reading poetry when he was only 5 years of age, and at age 11 he knew that he wanted to be a poet. He became a student at Harvard, and he submitted over a dozen poems to their monthly magazine, but they were all rejected. He also tried publishing things in local commercial magazines as well, and he was rejected there as well. The work of his poems entitled The Children of the Night, which 14-year-old Kermit Roosevelt had sent to his father, President Theodore Roosevelt, was very impressed with. When President Roosevelt saw that, he was so impressed that he wanted to hire Arlington Robinson. And we're going to go into a little bit more detail of his life. I'm just kind of giving you a little quick synopsis right up front. President Theodore Roosevelt secured a $2,000 a year, desperately needed job for Robinson. Now, $2,000 a year took Robinson out of all his financial difficulties, and he lived great after that. Could you imagine making $2,000 a year? We can barely survive on $2,000 a month, some even a week. It's hard. But anyway, when President Roosevelt discovered him, he was working underground inspecting loads of construction materials in an uncompleted subway. Arlington Robinson grew up in Grandeur, Maine, a town on the Kennebec River that became the Tilbury town in his poetry. Robinson's father was a very prosperous timber merchant, and his death brought his family, made his family very poor. Okay, I'm a little hesitant there. Sorry about that. Also, he had two older brothers that were promising, would be promising to help get them out of this debt, but they died very young as well. Their mother also passed away from a very long and painful illness. Robinson's poems grew out of his response to his family and his region. He's in a land of sudden diminished opportunities, a large old-fashioned houses all around, and lonely dreamers who had once been prosperous and happy. So he was surrounded by darkness. And that's where we're going to leave off, and we'll pick up again tomorrow, and have a great day.